Okay, we're here, day 3, Wednesday, Cannes, saving the best for last. This is my last Cannes episode, and it's Kathleen Hall. I guess I could introduce and give your accolades, but Chief Brand Officer at Microsoft for how many years?
I don't know how long I've been that, but I've been at Microsoft 15 years.
15 years. And 2 years ago, Marketer of the Year at Cannes, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But welcome, Kathleen.
Yay, thanks for having me.
And she's one of my dearest friends, so let's start there.
Yes.
Everybody says that, but actually, we are
is
really
true.
good friends.
It's like coffee talk.
Yeah, it's like coffee talk. Your voice is a little
My
scratchy.
voice is very sexy.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of celebration last night. We won something fun, and
I like that. We won something fun, like you won like a $5 scratch-off lottery. Why don't you tell the audience what you won?
We won a Grand Prix last night in design. And it was for a little project called Adlam that we worked on, which is not a little project, actually.
Maybe tell now that we've talked about it.
Okay, now we talked about it. Okay.
There's no brand. I love all the brands we work on, but I have a deep connection to Microsoft. I've worked on it probably 15 years.
Because you believed in it before anybody else believed in it.
2007, 2008. Yeah. But tell the crowd.
That's how far we go.
Adlam.
We try to do two things, right? Help people's lives and maybe help change the world. And if we can do both, it's usually a good thing. And there were these brothers who had a vision for a nomadic tribe in Africa. It's the Fulani tribe. Has no written alphabet. So if you don't have a written alphabet, you can't really connect to the digital economy ever because you need to use a keyboard. You need to be able to, write and read in your language. So what we do is we created that alphabet. It's kind of like the parallel I say. People go, "Oh, it's that alphabet thing." I go, it's not an alphabet thing. It's not really a font thing. Font is like you just making it pretty. That's
I love how people just
yeah, like they diminish it right away. Yeah,
it's that word.
Yeah.
Made up one word.
Yeah. No, it's like if you spoke Mandarin and the Mandarin characters didn't exist. That's what we had to create. So that's been the project of about 2 or 3 years. And McCann was super into it. Literally designing the letters with the culture, with people trying it and saying, does that work? Does this one look too much like that one? Does that one sound too much like that one? And the great thing about it, I think, is, the alternative was that they were sort of bastardizing Arabic and or French, which were two colonial powers that they had been subjected under. So that's not really great either.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a freedom thing too.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really great project that combines design and culture and, humanity and technology.
It's hard to win. I think we can. Ever said there's a lot of awards, there's lots of lines, but like winning a Grand Prix, there's not a lot of those.
Yep.
And you've won them before, and Marketer of the Year. So you started, say, 15 years ago in different jobs on the business unit side and Windows, and now obviously you're Chief Brand Officer and really responsible for all the amazing work over so many years. But how does Microsoft get from magazine cover when Crispin Porter Bogusky won it and Alex Bogusky was on the cover? He's a very good-looking man, so put him on Fast Company. And,
I'm sure he still is.
And
I mean, what?
Yes. Alex, you're always good-looking, no gray hair.
Yes.
And it said, "Can this guy make Microsoft cool?"
Yep.
And I always thought that was like a incredible fact. That was an advertising person on the cover of Fast Company back then was pretty novel.
Yeah.
But you have made Microsoft cool, and I don't think it's because you try to do cool things. It's you help people do very cool things.
I think we're not cool. We help people do cool things is the right answer. And I think you and I both saw early. Microsoft kind of recruited me. So I was like, well, why would you want to work at Microsoft? They're the fat guy in the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC ads getting beaten up. Like what? And then when I went out and met people and heard about the company and their commitment and what they're doing, and I was like, wow, they're great stories here. Great stories make great marketing. And you were there. We connected and we're like, one of the things we did, Rob's always had a great exercise, write the headline you want to see as a result of the work you did. And they incorporated that into my interview process. They said, write the headline you want to see.
Oh, wow.
And my headline was Microsoft outmarkets Apple. And then, so if you think that was the aspiration, winning Marketer of the Year, I would say, and it's not just about Apple, but aspiration is a great marketer, right?
For sure.
So that was the dream, and it kind of came true.
Yeah, the Apple's an interesting thing. I haven't great company like you said, and by the way, one company being great doesn't mean another company can't be great. And even for us as holding companies and networks, like I kind of want everybody to do well. You want to win, but for sure, like the most important thing is that the industry wins. And for brands like Microsoft and Apple and Google and all these other, like important to people, important people's lives.
Yeah.
But your mission at Microsoft is to empower people and organizations to achieve more. So I think you start with that. When you look at all the work that you've made with some with me and some with other partners and other companies, it all comes out of that mission.
Right. It's crystal clear. And I think that's the example that Apple set. Like you have to have a clear vision and a clear sort of mode of execution and a clear outcome you want. It's just clarity, focus, simplicity, and then a lot of trust and honesty between partners.
So let's go back to the beginning. Kathleen,
fine place.
the way beginning, because you have a very interesting, family and a lot of
Who doesn't?
A lot of police officers
Yes,
and
nurses,
other nurses
yeah.
and like what part of the family did you come from, since you're in this wildly creative position and doing great things, and you have your family doing amazing things as police officers and detectives and commissioners and nurses and all those things. So do they look at you like you're the sort of the fancy one, the fancy creative person?
Oh yeah, they think I'm super important, which makes them punish me constantly.
Yeah.
And also, how like they think I have more money than God, which is never true.
Yeah.
And Rob knows what this is.
Yeah.
No, I think I come from a blue collar background, which I think is what helps me be successful, because at Microsoft, even I still am an outsider after 15 years. Not in a they leave me out kind of way. In my perspective as an outsider, because you can get in the bubble of anything you do, whether it's automotive or tech or food, and you have to keep that perspective of, well, what does a normal person think? So I have a lot of those normal people.
Yeah.
Well, I use the term loosely, but not.
Yeah, Gary. Pretty normal Gary. He's, what do you describe him as? Paul Bunyan, right?
Yeah. My friends call him Paul Bunyan, but because he likes to cut wood and wear flannel. But anyway. So I think I was supposed to be the lawyer. I've told you that story, and my dad was the cop in the next generation. That's the hope, and I kind of broke his heart because I clerked for a summer, and I realized it's not LA law. I thought it was LA law. It's not LA law.
LA law. Remember LA law?
It's a great law. Yeah, a lot of Boston legal aid made it all look good, but it was so do the ad shows, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. So I had not an uncle. We called him Uncle Fred, but my dad and his buddy had season tickets to the polo fields. That's how long ago.
Wow.
No, the Bronx, the Giants in the Bronx, in the polo fields. And Uncle Fred was in advertising, but I didn't know what that meant. And he said, I think you'd be good at this. You should send your resume to this person.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and back then you didn't.
So there was someone.
There was someone who said, maybe you'd be.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd...
My grandfather was an artist.
Oh, wow.
So, I think that's where, I'm a writer by trade, but was an artist. And, when you growing up and seeing these paintings on the walls, and I still have some of the paintings now in our house.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, but
he
had to make
threads.
Yeah, he could make a big living at it. So he also worked in retouching advertising.
Oh, my God.
Back when artists were, literally not using computers, obviously.
Yeah. Amazing.
So, Chief Brand Officer, explain what that is. I mean, obviously, marketing is a huge part of that, but it's bigger than even marketing.
Right.
So maybe
it's an unusual. It's kind of an unusual collection of things, which even makes the title a little weird too. I think maybe they didn't know what else to call me. I have brand, and I'll tell you what that. And then I have basically all the advertising, the big campaign work. Then I have media, and I have research, which sometimes seems a little weird for me.
Which is pretty rare for one person to have, but I think when you think about it, like it's all so connected. So
it is so connected, and I think the odd one out a little bit may be research, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite in a lot of ways because
let's unpack that. I use that word in a podcast forever. Let's unpack that. Let's do a little. Suzanne Powers, one of my best friends. She's always said we're going to do a little digging. These phrases just make me crazy.
Unpack that feels like psychotherapy.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but anyway, look, no great work in my mind ever comes without a great insight.
Yeah.
And research gets you to insights. The other thing is, in a sea of kind of engineers, when you have to make a case for something, you can't just say subjectively, I know this. A lot of times I do subjectively know. I was like, trust me, this is good. When I first saw that adaptive controller, I'm like, this is going to be amazing, and we're going to be able to tell stories with this. But what you have to do is you have to share data to convince people of things, and that's what research can do for you. And also, as a listening device, like right now, social media for us is essentially a giant, focus group. We're constantly watching what are the phrases people are using, what's the terminology, where are they hot, where are they cold, where are they negative, where are they positive. So it's been fun to have that in the portfolio.
Well, I mean, and I think the agencies, and when I was at my former place, McCann, I remember when I left Crispin, we started our journey started at Crispin when I was there, and then went to McCann. And I went to McCann. I said, we had won the business, and there was this team in London said, hey, we want to find plastic in the ocean, using Bing. Can you take this idea to Kathleen? Because they knew we had history, and I go, well, do we have Bing as a client? Because we have Windows. We don't have Bing. No. Do you know somebody at Bing that's passionate about finding plastic in the ocean? No. Do you know someone at Microsoft that's passionate about finding plastic in the ocean? And they go, no. I go, well, then why would I take this idea, which is noble, but really isn't solving a business problem? I go, what's Kathleen passionate about? And they're like, well, then we asked Kevin Nelson, and they said, well, she really wants to get women into science. They have a business problem and a bigger issue.
Social problem.
There's not enough female engineers at Microsoft or in general. So I said, well, why aren't we bringing her 1,000 ideas around that? And you've always been really good at sort of cutting to why are we wasting time on chasing these things when we have so many things we need to either solve or talk about, like the adaptive controller, that are wonderful. And we ended up doing some work, winning at Cannes.
Yeah.
Kept winning at Cannes and more. And I think that's part of the reason we ended up at Marketer of the Year a couple of years ago, was because the focus. You've never lost that focus of like, let's not waste time on this stuff, but being open to also things that maybe you weren't prepared to make, finding money and finding opportunities.
Yeah, it's not wacky if it's in the vein of what you want to accomplish, right? Yeah. It has to be, that connection between what's the kind of social good and what's the business good. I got asked that question yesterday in the titanium jury, and I'm like, we're in business still. Like, it's not just about doing great things. There's mutual benefit when you do great things, So it's good to remember.
And you don't know how people make decisions anymore. I think this notion of like, well, it's purpose-led, but it's not really selling a product, or it's not. But how do you know? People choose brands. At least I choose brands for the things they're doing in the world also.
Right.
Dove is a perfect example of like, if I have to choose between one facial cream and another, I'm at the shelf, I might choose Dove because I actually like what they're doing, what they're standing for, besides the product being,
Right, but Dove's a great example to me. It's in line with their product. Like, their philosophy and what the benefit they're bringing to the world is in line. It connects. I think, you can't, what's over is the borrowed interest thing, or the virtue signaling. It's there has to be real mutual interest. And when you're as big as Microsoft, it's not like I'm worried some jury's going to call me out. The world's going to call us out. Like, we can't bullshit anything. Like, and it's never enough. It's never big enough. So you got to make sure you're going to have material impact, and it's all true.
Well, that's an interesting point of like, forget the award show. Obviously, we want to win. I always say it's the awards are the byproduct of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
By our clients,
we have never said, and you know that we've never set out saying we want to win something ever. We say we want to do great work.
And the world judges it. The internet, is an amazing thing and a horrible thing sometimes, because we know if something's great or it lands in culture immediately.
Yeah, almost
we don't have to wait till we get to Cannes to decide if this is a a smart move or a dumb move. So what's the first piece of creative work that inspired you?
Ever?
Yeah, ever.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think before I knew I was just, you mean when I was working in the business, or just a person?
Kathleen, as you can tell, we don't prepare. We don't do pre-reads. We don't do
first time.
I don't know.
I think the first time I think I told you the story I've ever said to myself, wow, like a commercial can change people, was the Native American crying by the river. It was a public service.
We talked about this the other
day. Yeah. And I literally, as a kid, you forget. I had this argument with it.
Well, by the way, it's an international audience. It's going to all the.
Oh, okay.
So explain what this ad is.
So basically,
us Americans know of a certain age.
Yes, of a certain age, because it ran back in the day.
Every day.
Yeah. So basically, if you were in your pajamas watching your cartoons on a Saturday morning, or you're watching reruns of Abbott and Costello on PIX, like. There was a commercial that would run, which was a Native American man walking along a river where there was like garbage, like literally like
or a highway. Oh yeah, he's walking.
Oh, I think it was whatever
highway. The journey. Okay.
Now you're ruining my story.
I know. I'm boring. This is what I'm doing. Kathleen's like, shut the F up.
But you could be right, but this is what I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, it was, before recycling, we didn't have any of this. Like, we forget. And there was, garbage everywhere. And it was depressing and sad. And he just turns and looks at camera. And I don't even remember what the line is. It's probably a line. You're going to remember.
I can't.
But all I remember is a tear went down his cheek. And I was like, oh, my God, it's devastating. And, I was about to say I had a little argument the other night with a Gen Z who was saying, like, basically us, baby boomers did nothing. I'm like, I'm sorry, wait, the EPA was established, recycling came to be, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, Civil Rights Movement, I'm like, yeah, we were kind of involved. So people forget, but it's also a story of what can change positively so fast. I think about it. We didn't even have recycling as I'm sitting there in my pajamas, and I'm sitting here now in my linen pants, and like it's the norm. We've changed the world. There's not garbage in rivers anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, to me that was like I don't know if I consciously said, aha, I want to be in advertising, but I'm like, wow, like I really feel something when this guy cries, and like it matters, and I can't throw my garbage out anymore.
But when
like,
you watch it now, it seems
it's a little hokey. It's a little hokey, yeah.
In the full garb of so.
Yeah, I mean, now it would be like cultural appropriation, and like, and the guy wasn't really Native American; he was Italian or something. Like there's a lot of trouble to be had.
Research on his name,
but it had impact. Yeah. So I think, and in general, I think I come from a big kind of Scotch-Irish Catholic family, and like you got to be a good storyteller.
Yeah.
Like if you want room at the table, there's two things you have to do. You have to be good at getting it out, and you have to be good at defending it.
Yeah.
And those two things, I think, serve me really well in this business because you can tell a story. And telling a story is sometimes about simplicity. You got to simplify things. And then also, you got to defend it. My interview, by the way, when Uncle Fred said you might be good in advertising, I sent my resume. You couldn't look anything up. There's no Bing. There's no Google.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where it stands. I don't know. No research. Like the worst prepared interview ever in my life. And when I get in, the woman who was interviewing me, we start debating the Jets and the Giants. And at some point I say, are you going to ask me any questions? She goes, what do you think I've been doing? I go, this is the interview? She said, yeah. I want to see if you can make an argument, hold an argument. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Awesome.
And like 6 interviews later that day, I got the job.
Yeah.
I went home. My dad's like, what? How much are you going to make? I go, I don't know. I forgot to ask. I just said yes.
But then there was a number, right?
It was $10,000 a year. Yeah, as an assistant media planner. And by the way, the company was Y&R.
The power I think CMOs have and chief brand officers have and brand managers when creative people are showing you ideas. It's like it's such a high and low. You want people to like it, and I'm sure you want to like everything that is shown to you too, which I think is we think it's easy. Or like, oh, it must be easy to be a client because you just tell people you don't like it, then you have to go away. But I'm sure it's hard because you know how you're a creative person, so you know how much work is going into this.
But see, I think you taught me this more than anybody because there's beauty in clarity.
Yeah.
And I think it's even the more emotionally vested you get creatively because I take too long to say this isn't going to work and here's why. Which the other thing is, just so I don't sound like a bitch. I didn't just say, I hate it. Get out of my office.
No.
I would say, yeah, I do. I would, and that's why, or I would say, I fucking love it. That's one of my best. But when I go, no, yeah, hate it. But I would say, here's why.
Yeah,
no way
we weren't mean about it. But
yeah, but it takes a certain kind of person on the creative side to want to have that. And you worked on like what kind of teams, what kind of. But then that honesty goes both ways. Yeah. Like we really believe in this idea. This is gonna, and a lot of it. It's not like the old. What I've always loved about working with you and the team is it's not like here's your strategy. Tennis match. Oh, I just broke a microphone. And then you hit it back. Here's your serve back.
Yeah.
And then we're like, and somehow we're not hitting the zone.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Us, it's more like a rugby scrum. Like we're in it and we're handing each other the ball and we're like, oh, that's not the right direction. Go back, So anyway, I feel like it's more of a workshop. Yeah. It's always been,
Well, because I would say Kathleen is so good in edits, but I would want like people like, oh, we don't want the client to come to edit. So like, no, I want Kathleen to come. She's better at doing editing than some creative people are.
I love editing.
But
so are you.
The other thing you're passionate about is music. And I'm doing a panel at the WPP Beach. I'm introducing a panel around sound and music and the importance of it. But you've always said, well, what's the sound? What's the music? What's the tone we were going for? Like, obviously it's important, but why do you think it's so important?
I think it's the fastest shorthand to emotion there is. So, you get up in the morning, you turn on music. The first song you hear is something's going to stick with you or put you in the mood. Like, I want to hear, I want to be up. Or when I clean, I got to put energetic music. I got to have energy.
Manolo's an EDM fan. Did you know that?
I don't even know what EDM.
Electronic music.
Oh, I don't even know.
Electronic dance music.
Okay, listen to me. For me, it ended in 1982. Like, no good music came after.
Well, don't say your favorite song of the last song, because that's one of our rapid fire questions at the end.
I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. So,
I'm a huge 70s. Look, 70s had everything. You had disco. You had great kind of like, rock, and you had great sort of middle of the road, Eagles kind of.
Yeah.
There was nothing better.
Eagles were good.
Yeah. I could listen to nothing but 70s the rest of the time.
So I'll get serious for a second here. Like, you have a giant job. Microsoft's doing exceptionally well, but there's got to be some challenges for you.
Oh, there's a lot of challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of us face is maintaining focus on the importance of building the brand. I think there's so much short-termism and quarterly reportism and Wall Streetism, which is all important. But, I think this whole thing of the hardest concept that people need to grasp that are not on the marketing side is equity, right? There's equity in the brand. So if you build it up early and fast and sustain it, it allows you to do so many other things. People are more likely to try your products if they already like you. They're more likely to pay more. They're more likely to stick with you when something goes wrong. And they're more likely to recommend it to other people. All that's value. And the value we look at is like, did I put a quarter in and get 4 quarters out this month?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not what it's about. So I think that's the hardest challenge, is making people understand this is a portfolio approach. You gotta be sowing for the future while you're reaping today. And you gotta have your eye on where's that field moving. Like generations change and attitudes change, and you're changing with it.
Well, during the pandemic, teams became like people's lifeline. And I don't think if the pandemic didn't happen, I don't think Zoom, I don't think these things would have taken off as much as obviously they have. And they're such a part of, obviously WPP. We're deep into Teams. We use it all the time. And there's been some great collaborations. FCB did a great collaboration with Michelob Ultra and Microsoft.
Yeah.
With the screens, the team.
Yeah, and the NBA. Yeah.
The NBA and one here big in Cannes.
Yeah.
It was super meaningful. But you think of how important that was.
Well, the draft. I think the NFL draft was another.
Oh yeah,
good
it was
example.
a great one too.
In COVID, I think what we did is they were, of course, a nervous wreck because they're used to that being a big, show in Vegas. And I think it humanized the players again. You got these kids in Indiana sitting on a leather couch with their parents, or you got Goodell in his basement.
Roger Goodell with his Barca lounger.
It had a positive effect in a lot of ways. But it was cool.
You talk about the NFL, and you've been in Microsoft's been in the Super Bowl a number of times.
Yes.
And won in Cannes. Big part of winning in Cannes with the adaptive controller was this kid Owen, who's a big star, disabled kid, but one of the bravest, coolest, badass kids around.
Amazing.
And I asked you about him. He was the star of the Super Bowl spot, and you can find it online. And I said, "How's he doing?" You're like, "He's still around." So I love that you stay in touch with Owen.
Yeah.
Years later.
Yeah, it's mostly Carol Hutchinson who works with me. She has these. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember?
Carol's a superstar.
Brandon. You remember Brandon from? He was the kid that we fitted the artificial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's like a high school kid. And so she keeps in touch with those also. We get Christmas cards from people. We get, it's fun. It's kind of fun to see all that because they're all real people, right? Living lives.
Yeah, I loved Owen. It was cool. It's a great campaign.
Yeah,
so
great campaign.
You probably have many. What's the proudest moment in your career?
I think for me, because of who I am and where I'm from and what went on behind the scenes, Peace on Fifth, the ad we did where we first of all,
explain for the audience what Peace on Fifth is.
So what Peace on Fifth was, this is a good example too of the collaboration, right? The agency came with an idea, and we were talking about the holiday season is a time to check the weapons at the door, stop the nonsense. We're all in this together, kind of thing. And they came with an idea of the Microsoft Store and the Apple Store sharing space. They're in the mall. How about we bring them cookies? Or we do it? I'm like, we're not bringing them cookies. So we iterated on that, and we said, hey, in the World War, when the kind of the Germans and the English kind of put down their weapons and sang Silent Night, there's those stories. It's great. What's our equivalent of that? So we thought, we have a Fifth Avenue store. They had taken over what was the FAO Schwartz building. We'll march down Fifth Avenue, and we'll sing them a holiday song.
We did it all. The Apple employees had no idea.
No idea.
They were coming.
So the degree of difficulty on so many levels. So first of all,
you get one shot.
We auditioned our own employees to be the singers.
Yeah.
So we pulled that off in about a week, and we had a ridiculous number of submissions. but they were amazing singers. And we flew them all here. So we created our own Microsoft choir at a real people. Then we wanted and augment that. So we had the Harlem Children's Choir join that. We had Joel Simon, the guy I met he's a saint and a friend of ours, like dealing with these amateurs trying to make music. Then I had a song in my head I wanted, and it was "Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin with Me." And it was never used before. Yeah. The woman who wrote it would not give us rights. She'd been asked before by a lot of other brands, wouldn't give us rights. And Sean on the business wrote her a letter and explained to her what we were trying to do. And not only did she give us rights, she gave us rights to the great. She gave us a great price. So it was all these obstacles. The night of the pre-pro was when the Paris attacks happened. Yeah. So all the permits that you have to get to shoot in New York City were all pulled, and crazy. I had to call every cousin, brother, aunt, uncle I had that knew somebody.
Your brother Tommy was what, chief of police? What
he's a I don't know what he is anymore. He's retired, but he's a 1-star chief. Yeah. Maybe 2 stars. I don't want to get that wrong. He'll yell at me.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy, don't
hit
me.
Tommy, I don't really.
I saw pictures of you. You're very strong.
He's very
big and strong.
So the degree of difficulty and the emotion around it, and the fact that it was my city. It's my hometown.
Yeah, of course.
I thought, wow, I felt like, if
I agree. I would put that up there for me, too.
And also, that was all handheld, no video village. We didn't know what we got. Eric Joyner.
Who directed Eric?
Eric Joyner, we didn't know what we got. So it was all of that, and then it came together, and you're like, what? And like you said, the Apple employees, you got one shot at this. They're not going to be surprised the second time.
They were blown away. They came out, people crying. It was
crying. It was really...
Well, I think that's a great story because, we're here at Cannes. There's a lot of lions, and obviously everybody wants the golds in the Grand Prix, but winning bronzes is impossible. Getting on the short list, this is really hard. There's 50, 100,000 entries, and 2% get awarded. So, but Nick Saban, the great coach of Alabama, he said that you have choices. You can either be average, good, great, excellent, or elite. And to be elite, what is required is this level of commitment. And I think what's interesting of having won Grand Prix, and you've won Grand Prix and done great work, what it takes to make some of these ideas.
Yeah.
It really is hard to do. I always say so much pain, someone has to cry. Hopefully it's not me, but but it's difficult. So talk a little bit about obviously you've made so many great things, but it's just so the audience understands it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with ease. Just getting these ideas through your own organization.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and you have to care. You got to give a shit. I sometimes think I annoy people with the level of how much I give a shit. We've had things where sound mix change on a version to version. I'm like, who the fuck changed the sound? What are you guys doing? And you're like, oh, we did.
It's like Kathleen noticed that we changed the notes on the back end. Of course she did.
Yeah.
So yo-yos,
because you feel it. Yeah. So you have to really care. I think the way to get great work through an organization is to keep as few people as possible involved. That's it. And the one beauty of what I have is I don't really have to sell to anybody.
Yeah.
Even our first Super Bowl spot, the Empowering Us All spot.
Yeah. Great spot. We did not do. I did not do.
Our CEO saw it the day before it ran and said, "I don't think you should run it." And that was one of those badge on the table moments. I'm like, yeah, I think we should. So that kind of empowerment is great for me too.
Well, I have to ask the question of the week, which is AI.
Yeah.
And we were just up at Microsoft, Mark and the whole team meeting with Satya and others, and you had said, we're pretty good at AI, so maybe don't spend too much time on it. But WPP is very deep into it. We've invested lots of time and money. We have an amazing guy, Stefan Prestorius, who runs our technology, and we met with Ali from your side, and he said you guys are really advanced for a company that's not doing AI, but you guys are doing it and have been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about how you feel about it, in creating advertising and creativity, and then where's it really going to end up?
Yeah, I think I'm like a lot of us. The primary use of AI up to date has really been sort of data usage, right? How does it sort through stuff, help us find answers, and that kind of thing. The generative AI, as we call it, the creative part of it, is where we are now. And I think I'm like a lot of people. I'm like, I don't know about this. Somebody asked me on a panel here 3 or 4 years ago, do you think it will be making creative? And I said, I don't know, because it's all about patterns, right? And isn't great creativity about breaking patterns? If you took all the data on what makes a great Broadway show, you'd never get Hamilton. You'd never get a rap about a obscure historic figure countercast. Like that's what makes it art, right? But I do see now, having done what we've done, I don't know if you've been down to the beach house, but like the ability to do some of the groundwork, like to do some of the initial kind of like filtering and ideation of things. And on the visual side, for those of you who don't know, the Microsoft Beach House, we felt that the creatives felt the same way. Like, I don't know if I want to use an image creator. I'm good at what I do. I want to do it the way I've always done it. So we had our creatives, any partner agencies that want to participate, create sea creatures.
Yeah.
And the process of them engaging with the technology, you saw them go from like, I don't want to do this, I'm probably going to hate it, to like, I cannot stop doing this. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Which is you love that as a marketer. You're like, there's emotion and energy there, and the stuff that came out is mind blowing. And the thing that I realize is I can't do that. The creative brain can do that because they know so it's going to be now the art of the prompt, really. Like, what do you put in to get out? And they're just stunning visuals. And the thing I also love is the people who did the creative, who did these creatures, their personality and their background, their culture, all these things come through. Like one guy's a huge saxophone fan. He made an octopus that looks like a saxophone, which is cool. We have a team still working in Kyiv, in Ukraine, and they did a octopus that kind of looked like a Fabergé egg, but in the colors of the Ukraine. So like people's culture comes through. It's mind blowing. So.
I mean, you bring up the Ukraine. It's easy to forget we're here in Canada. There's still a war going on, and like Microsoft, obviously,
and people are working. People are they're giving us creative. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We worked on a campaign to help the Ukraine government with Zelensky, the president, just to make sure that people know that Ukraine's still open. I mean, the fight they have. But Microsoft has been so involved in so many different things. How do you choose where to step in? And obviously also the technology behind most of the governments but picking and choosing, I'm sure, of like what causes or what efforts to do. Like, that comes through, your department also, right?
Yeah. I think mostly it's like this intersection of like social movement and focus, truth, and storytelling potential. Like we kind of
what? There's actually a little thing here. It says, you've said in the past, and I'm going to read from the
quote me.
The best examples of creativity and storytelling resonate with people because they connect with some truth, a social truth, a product truth, an emotional truth.
And usually all of them. There you go. I said that. Where was
Where was that?
I clearly was not drinking all night.
Yeah, no, that wasn't at 4:00 in the morning at the All right, Kathleen, we're gonna go into the lightning round. Of questions.
Are there prizes?
There might be prizes.
I see some.
There is a sunglass thing down there. I don't know if they're your level sunglasses.
No, I see a lot of luxury this way, right?
Yeah, no, I see. Well, we'll see what we can do. Books or movies?
Books.
Favorite book?
I'd probably say To Kill a Mockingbird.
Great movie, too. Talking or texting?
Talking.
Is there someone you don't want to talk to that you always text? You're like, I can't.
You know what I find? The person you don't want to talk to and you want to text is the person you should talk to.
Are you a night owl or a morning person?
I was a dyed-in-the-wool night owl. Like 1:00 in the morning was my because when you have kids, you gotta wait till everybody goes to bed, all the laundry's done, and it's like, but I've evolved. I kind of now have shifted to like, I get up in the morning and I kind of like that quiet time too.
Speaking of your kids, Jameson and Katie, they've been very involved sometimes in the Microsoft campaigns. Kathleen would be like, "Hey, Katie found this song that we should use," and we're like, "What?" And it's pretty. And then you
wanted to hire her at one point.
Yeah,
Katie, come work.
Good at this. But they're both teachers.
They're both teachers, But they too like music, like I like music. And since I stopped with 1979. Everything after that, they know, so we would use their brains. I think you go to the generation you're trying to impact.
For sure,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we put some tracks on there. Katie was like, "I don't think so." These are late.
And the great thing is the creatives like that could be resentful, right?
Yeah,
but they start to appreciate it when she picked that "Let's Tell the World." Remember on the baby spot?
Yeah,
the Eric whatever his name was.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then Jameson picked Rachel Patton on the holiday spot. Yeah, I remember this.
So we're talking about music. The last song you listened to?
I just listened to Bob Marley this morning. Don't worry. It wasn't "Don't Worry, Be Happy." It was "Everything's Gonna Be All Right." Yeah.
Great song, Bob Marley. Hidden secret talent of Kathleen Hall.
I'm a knitter. I can make you a sweater.
I know you're a knitter. I can't believe I forgot you.
I can make you a sweater in a day. I am a flautist. I play the flute like Lizzo. Yeah.
What are you talking about? This is the thing. It makes I had no idea.
I do. I have 2 flutes and a piccolo.
Was the scene in does Will Ferrell pull a flute out? Does he play the flute in Anchorman? Is that the?
I don't remember.
No, he's in the bar. He plays the flute.
That's a flute. If it was this, it's a flute. Yeah.
Wow. Do you still play?
I still play. It's very therapeutic. Not as much as I would like, but I do.
God damn! I wish we had a flute here.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we had.
I would play in a minute. Danny Boy, right off the top of my head, no problem. Amazing Grace, I can do those off.
Is there a video? Is there like a YouTube video?
No, we do not publish. We do not post.
So,
if you die, though, Rob, I'll come with Danny Boy.
Yeah. Favorite season?
I like fall. I don't like sweating. I like being hot.
Yeah.
I like fall. And somebody said to me, what must have been like when this was just like vacation place? I go, they weren't huffing up and down the Quaset.
Racing.
They're sitting on an umbrella.
Nick and I were at our boss, Mark Reed. He was doing an interview, and I'm like, we got to go. And I'm like, I forgot my pass. Oh, shit, I have to go back up. And like Deacon's calling me, because I hate being late, and I don't want to be late for you. I was like, where is this beach? I've been here 3 times, but I can't find it. I'm like, Deacon, you go. It was crazy. So I'm running, and I'm like, and once I start like running,
you can't move faster. Yeah.
And then I'm like, God damn it, Kathleen's gonna be down there already. I'm gonna roll up, strolling up, like, hey, how's it going? Oh my God.
Well, I can't. The good news or bad news is I can't go fast right now.
Yeah,
so I got to plan it.
You've had a foot.
I've had a lot of canned feet issues.
These,
it's ankle actually. I
these
broke
are
my
fancy
fibia.
Shoes. These are new ones.
No, these are the Gucci's I've been wearing all these years.
Really?
Yep. Look at how fat and swollen it is already. Yeah.
Doctor, we'll get the doctor on that. Tosh, one of our people who works for Eric Monet, she was at the Ogilvy space and fell down and hurt her leg.
Oh my gosh!
So it's
dangerous.
It's a dangerous place here. All right, we're gonna keep going here. If you could hang out with a fictional character, who would it be?
Oh God, Rob, you should have told me these ahead of time.
Jonathan Sanchez, this guy who works with us, with Deacon and us, he writes these questions and they're good.
Wow, a fictional. Because I read. I mean, I'm a voracious reader. So like,
don't give me some obscure thing that I won't know.
No.
Let's go general audience.
No, I was gonna go kind of general audience.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might hang out with Mary Poppins. I just went to my head.
Well, I wouldn't have believed this if it wasn't for the flute playing. That feels like the background of Mary Poppins. The hills are alive.
I don't know.
I've never seen Mary Poppins.
It's just like, oh my God, 2 favorite movies. I love Mary Poppins, and I love Sound of Music. And it's again, I must have been like frozen in time.
Oh, so I was singing Sound of Music.
The Hills Are Alive, yeah. But that's common.
2 movies I'm probably never going to watch.
You got it.
Unless I'm
Come on, Christopher Plummer?
Drunk. If I have to be really, someone has to
I'll make you.
Pay me. Okay. 3 items on your bucket list.
I am going to take a plane, land somewhere in the British Isles, buy a motorcycle, and start driving through Europe by myself.
Okay, that's one.
That's one. Another bucket list. I want to do all the national parks in the United States. I would love to do that.
Like in an RV, like you. I picture you and Gary.
No, Gary.
No, Gary. Sorry, Gary. We know Gary's not going to listen to this.
It would be real.
Gary's Kathleen's husband. Very good looking. He's a very cool guy. Has a really ugly yellow giant truck.
Tonka truck.
Tonka truck that's not allowed in
my driveway. It affects my sensibilities in a negative way.
So then, last thing on the bucket list.
I think I want to take my kids on safari. I spent some time in Kenya in college and right after college, and I want to go back and I want to have them see it before it's really not what it is anymore.
You know, I was dragged to a safari by my wife Laura, who Kathleen knows, who loves all types of things. You should vacation with her.
She might get a motorcycle with me.
She would do it all.
We'll send Gary with you.
I'd crash on a motorcycle. She doesn't trust me to get one. She's like, you have terrible attention. You'll crash. You'll do something stupid. And so we went on a safari in South Africa, and it's pretty hard, because like you're in the middle of this, and you can't leave the camp.
Yeah,
the resort.
You're right.
And you wake up at like 5, and you go out for a couple hours.
Then you get back and sleep.
And then you gotta go. And then you're like, you have nothing to do. You have to go. They're like, we have to go see a kill, and I'm like, it's so weird that you want to see things. But like I was kind of bored with it by the 5th day.
Yeah.
Like, how many days?
That's good for you. 5 days is good for you.
I was like, I want a human to fall off and get eaten. I'm so bored. I was like, I gotta spice this thing up. She's like, you're an animal. But it's worth seeing. The giraffes to me were like
the giraffes and the elephants.
That
Elephants to me
incredible,
are
yeah.
the most amazing animals in the world.
But they chase you. You know, the bulls are called the teenagers. They chase the
trucks. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And they're like, and the guy, it's like one guy driving and one guy with a gun. If God forbid you ever have to use it, I'm like, what is the time when you use the
How bad does it have to be?
Because
we had a Jurassic Park moment where they literally said they've broken through the fences. The elephants came over because it was a drought. And they had watered the property where we were staying, and I'm like, "Are we in Jurassic Park?" I'm like, "What is going on?" They've broken the fences.
Go-to karaoke song. We know you play the flute, but if you have to drop the flute, is it Jethro Tull? That's the only.
I can do Jethro Tull. I can do the.
You can do Aqualung?
I can do the hustle.
The hustle.
I can do Nutcracker. I can do all of it. I
Wow.
Yeah. Whether it was dance band or orchestra. What was the question?
Go-to karaoke song.
Go-to karaoke. My mother is a beautiful singer, or was a beautiful singer, and she said to me often, Kathleen,
my father. Yeah.
You do a lot of things really well. Don't sing. So I am not one that will put my hand up for karaoke. I did do crazy. I would do Patsy Cline Crazy once on a cruise.
That's about
right.
Yeah,
really, really good alcohol.
You're a lover of the Ford brand. So if anybody from Ford's out there listening,
I am.
Kathleen loves Ford more than anything.
I do.
I think, and
I think I have 9 Ford vehicles right now.
But you have like a.
We have 3 Broncos. We got a Bronco Raptor.
But you have an old Ford.
I got
too.
a '69 pickup.
I picture you in that singing crazy.
Yeah, and that's when I'm going to go cross country into the national parks. It all comes together.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Okay, so again, Ford Corporation, one of the best marketers in the world, loves Ford. I'm just throwing it out there, everybody.
My dad invented the minivan. We had a Ford Club wagon. Because I had 5, we had 5 kids, so and skis and windows on the side. It was 4 on the column, so we all learned to drive that, and that's how he drove us all around before there was a minivan.
Oh, I thought he literally invented.
Like, to me, he did. I'm like, forget Lee Iacocca. My dad invented the minivan.
Last 2 questions. If you could only put one app on your phone for the rest of your life, what would the app be?
I think it would be Instagram. I just like the visual focus. I like photos. It's quick. I don't know. I feel like I can control it a little bit more than other things. I was very early not a fan of Facebook for some experiences that I had. And then there's this one that I went to like blank in my head where I have this app that identifies any plant you look at. You just hold it up and like it tells you what it is, and then it'll tell you if it's sick or not and what you should do to it.
It's called Sick Plant. It's called Sick Plant. It's a great app. It's called Sick. Mine would be Spotify. I'm not.
Oh shoot!
Not because we're here at the Spotify studios that are gorgeous, by the way, here in Cannes. It's just something about having it's like a friend. It could, it's either podcasts and then you can listen to the New York Times. You can listen
yeah, you're right.
And music saves you in a lot of ways. So mine would be Spotify.
No, and you're right. I constantly.
Yeah, but you should go with the Sick Plant app. That's gonna be better.
I got fun.
By the way, I said the one app for the rest of your life. You're like,
I didn't say. I said in a blink moment that one popped up because I do use it. My new house, I got all these like apple fruit. I don't know what these trees are, and I just click it and I go, oh, that's a persimmon.
Cut to everybody else is going to be listening to music, and this is like.
No, you're right. I live on Spotify, which is kind of funny, but it didn't come to my brain immediately.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of logos around. You know what it is?
It's on my main
It's
screen.
the sunglasses. See,
it's not the rosé.
All right, last question for your Kim Carnes voice. One piece of advice you would give your teenage self.
Don't care so much about others, like thinking. I think it's that old saying, like you spend half your life worried about others think of you, and the rest of your life you realize no one was really thinking about you. I think that's that stress of like, what are people like? What am I gonna? Also, there's a lot of stress around. Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? Like, what? It's like I hated my 20s. Like all the decisions, where you're going to live, who might you marry, what job you're going to have. Like it's like stress. Like I don't know, just chill. It all happens.
You're the second person who said that. Chill. I think Fernando.
Yeah.
Said chill also. So 2 of the best creative marketers in the world. Their advice to their teenage self would be to chill.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, what a great way to end Screaming Creativity. Thank you to Emily and all the Spotify crew. Thank you to our crew. There's Nikan over there.
Well,
and
thanks for having me. Super fun.
Yeah, this is super fun.
I feel like I need to do it again. I could do better.
No. Well, listen, we can do part 2 at some point. So come to New York. We'll do part 2 because we film these and hopefully everybody will enjoy this one. This has been awesome. Been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Screaming Creativity is produced by WPP and Hogarth and edited by Rob C. Ward at BCW.